Hi everyone, I'm Scott, of course. Thanks for tuning into my channel. I'd like to say a big hello to the new subscribers that I have gotten over the last couple of weeks. Really appreciate it. I haven't been as interactive on YouTube with my viewers as I'd like to be, especially when they leave comments, because I'm not signed up with Google+. Which prevents me from commenting on other people's videos, including responding to comments in my own video. However, I do have a Facebook page set up. If you haven't already checked that out, the link is in the description below. And if you like the page, it's not really something that I use to promote myself. It's just a better way to communicate anyway. There's no more YouTube messaging system and everything like that unless you're on Google+. And I don't really want to be a part of that, of course. So please visit my Facebook page where you can comment on videos and also give me feedback, whatever you like. I'd really appreciate you doing that. So thank you very much for tuning in. Guardians of the Galaxy, of course, just came out. The latest Marvel Studios movie. And of course, they're all sort of separate from the other Marvel series, like Spider-Man and X-Men and what have you. And I look forward to each one of these movies, and I wanted to take the time not only to talk about the newest film, but also about sort of the whole series as it's leading up to the next Avengers, and just how I like each of them. Guardians of the Galaxy was a movie that I was looking forward to more than Captain America: The Winter Soldier, but I ended up liking Captain America a lot more than this one. And I think it speaks to something about expectations. The expectations I have for some of these movies that I read about years before, that they finally are released. With Marvel, they're setting release dates for their movies all the way to 2018 and beyond. I can assume that one of the first Fridays of May in 2018 is when the third Avengers movie is coming out, because that's sort of been the pattern. And I can expect to see another movie with the Guardians of the Galaxy, another movie with Captain America next May, no, not next May, but the May after the next Avengers movie. So that would be 2016. Plus Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange got a shout out in Captain America, so there'll probably be a movie about him. So like I said, I read about this stuff well in advance, and so I'm super jacked to see it. And whenever my expectations get that high, it's always very, very difficult to meet them. Give you an example. Like I said, I wasn't especially looking forward to another Captain America movie because I wasn't that big of a fan of the first one. But as I saw basically the clips, I began to think that maybe this could be a really good movie, and it turned out to be really good. One of the best Marvel movies that they've made so far. And also, just to get off the Marvel movies for a second, the Wes Anderson movie that came out earlier this year, Grand Budapest Hotel. I haven't loved all of Wes Anderson's movies, but this one I was actually looking forward to. I sort of thought to myself, wow, this looks exciting, especially when I saw the clip of it. And I did. Really liked it a lot. But this was a case where I wasn't all that keen on the idea of the movie, and then having seen the trailer, I went, oh, that actually looks really exciting. The same thing happened with the Rise of Planet of the Apes, the one from 3 years ago. Whereas movies like X-Men Days of Future Past and Boyhood and some of the other movies that I've been anticipating seeing for years and really super pumped about and thinking they're going to be the greatest, end up being disappointing in a number of ways. I end up sort of picking apart all the things that I don't like about them before conceding, yeah, this is actually a decent movie. Not so much in the case of the new X-Men movie. I have to sort of give that one a negative review just because I have so many issues with it. But if you watch the video I did on Richard Linklater and Boyhood, I end up bringing up the big issues that I had with it before going, yeah, actually this is a really decent movie. And it is. I'd rank it like number 2 so far on the best movies that I've seen so far this year, right under the skin. So yeah, it's a little difficult, especially with a movie like this where you don't really know what it is, but you're given an idea of what it will be. And the idea that I've gotten from Guardians of the Galaxy is that it is a comedy with a lot of sci-fi, quirky characters and action in it. And I was expecting that, and unfortunately I was kind of disappointed. Not that I didn't find the movie funny at times, but a lot of the humor didn't work for me. I don't know what the jokes were. Maybe I wasn't in the right mood or what have you. It might be a movie that I get used to after seeing it a few times and enjoy more. But I'm not actually planning on going to the theater to see it a second time. I just don't think that, wouldn't be all that big on it. So in any case, when you have a movie that's billed basically as either an action movie or a thriller or even a straight drama, any humor that you get with that is less expected, and therefore, you know, the kind of jokes catch you off guard, and so they're funny, or at least that's how it is with me. Whereas if I'm going in expecting the movie to be a comedy, to be funny, and it isn't as funny as I am hoping, then I'm kind of disappointed. But that isn't the only problem that I have with Guardians of the Galaxy. The formula for the story is so similar to the stuff that's already taken place that we've seen in other films like this. I mean, you've got Star Wars, you've got Independence Day, you've got the Avengers, you've got Serenity, you've got the other two Marvel movies that came out during Phase 2. And that they're well, there's actually 3 of them, but Iron Man 3 is different from the other 2. In Iron Man 3, basically, the climax involves Tony Stark and Don Cheadle, Rhodey, taking the fight to the bad guys and fighting them on their own turf, away sort of from the civilian population, whereas Thor, The Dark World, and Captain America, The Winter Soldier, and Guardians of the Galaxy, all 3 of those movies climax with the villain or villains about to wipe out a huge amount of people, and the heroes have to stop them. And that happens in all 3 of those movies. The scale is different, obviously. The scale for Captain America is like the eastern half of the United States, and the scale for Guardians of the Galaxy is like a whole planet, and the scale for Thor: The Dark World is like the entire universe, all 9 realms, or however many they are. But it's essentially the same. It's this last-minute, last-ditch effort to save huge amounts of people from dying at the hands of the villain. So I ended up being kind of bored by a lot of the movie, I'm afraid. I was just sort of waiting it for everything to sort of grind through the gears of the plot. The characters, they all meet each other, they don't get along, they argue, they fight, what have you, but I know eventually they were all going to get together and band together and set aside whatever differences they had so they could fight the common threat. And it was just sort of an exercise in me sort of waiting around for that to happen. So I found it kind of dull, actually, kind of an empty experience. Not that I didn't enjoy some of the movie, and I didn't enjoy some of the characters, because I did. There's stuff to enjoy in the movie. Stuff that happened that was kind of inexplicable. For example, one of the Benicio del Toro plays a character named the Collector, and he has a girl with like pink skin working for him, and she does something that's completely inexplicable. She's angry with him, but what she does is just like, you know, what's the point of that? Why even do that? It doesn't make any sense. What else? Some of the characters, like Rocket, for example, I thought that he was amusing some of the time. But the character that I liked the most probably was actually Drax. Drax actually was a character that I liked quite a bit, as opposed to, say, Peter Quill or Rocket, who seem, you know, kind of full of themselves. I mean, Rocket has its moments, and Quill has his good moments as well. But yeah, overall, the movie didn't really sit all that well with me. I found a lot of it kind of tedious, unfortunately. So amongst its Phase 2 films that have come out so far, it's actually my least favorite, and I seem to be the exception there, because I went with a friend of mine, and he really liked the movie a lot, and I didn't want to diss it too much to spoil his mood, but, you know, most of the people who I've heard from, either on YouTube or in person, seem to think that the movie is lots of fun, and they really like it. It's one of the better Marvel movies, and I'm just not really in that mind frame. I don't know why exactly. Like I said, maybe with time and subsequent viewings I'll get used to it and enjoy it more. I know that happened with Iron Man 3. I liked it at first, but I liked it more and could appreciate it more with subsequent viewings. So yeah, that's my Guardians of the Galaxy review. Being kind of vague, don't want to talk too much about the story. You know, there's a lot of it that feels really derivative of other movies that I've already seen, as I mentioned. So yeah, kind of an empty experience for me, unfortunately. But you know, it's just one of many movies, and of course we have Age of Ultron to look forward to next summer, which once again is being written and directed by Joss Whedon, and I love him. He's fantastic, and I really like the last Avengers movie, and so I have plenty of reasons to expect this one to also be exciting. I'm sure I'll nitpick on a few details when it comes out. When I first see it, but like with the Avengers, you know, that's a movie that I've watched many times and really enjoyed. It has very strong rewatchability appeal for me. So now I'd like to take a little bit to talk about all the Marvel movies, and specifically, if you're going to marathon them, what order you should watch them in, or at least what order I would choose to watch them in. So before we get started, let's first take a look at the sequence in which Marvel Studios has released these movies, and which is presumably the order that they would very much like for each of us to watch them in. We have Iron Man 1 to start, of course, in 2008, followed by The Incredible Hulk, which came out later that summer. In 2010, Iron Man 2, and the first Thor, and then Captain America, the first Avenger, and then the first Avengers movie in 2012, and then the following year, which was last year, Iron Man 3, and then Thor the Dark World, and then this year, Captain America the Winter Soldier, and Guardians of the Galaxy, which I believe is the first in that series, and then, of course, the Avengers Age of Extinction. Ultron. Good thing they didn't go with Rise of Ultron or something like that. That would have been really lame. So, first of all, let's correct one little problem here, and that is that The Incredible Hulk actually takes place after Iron Man 2. But if you're a fan of The Incredible Hulk, obviously you want to include this in the marathon somewhere, but me, I'm not really a fan of The Incredible Hulk. I find it lousy, much too loud in the climax, and of course, Edward Norton and Mark Ruffalo, each of them playing the Hulk. I mean, it just doesn't work for me. And so I would just like to basically leave it out altogether, as I have in the past. For those of you who don't like that, who want to see The Incredible Hulk as part of the marathon, maybe you can find a good place for it. So minus that movie, we have... This is the sequence that the movies came out in. And I first wanted to check and see, with the Iron Man movies and the Avengers, obviously, Tony Stark is a very strong presence in those movies, so I thought that spreading him out a little bit more would be a good idea, rather than having these two together and these two together. So what I did first was to take Captain America, the first film, and place it here. That way we have the present day, and then we go back to the 1940s for a story that ends up in the present day, and then we're back in the present again for the second Iron Man movie, and then we go into outer space and what have you with Thor, and then the Avengers. This works out kind of neatly. It spreads Downey and the character of Stark across the first phase. You have Stark, no Stark, Stark, no Stark, Stark. That's kind of neatly. Of course, Iron Man 2 has to come before Thor, because in Iron Man 2, Coulson leaves to go to New Mexico, and in Thor, he arrives in New Mexico. Of course, if you're watching the stingers on these movies, Coulson arrives in New Mexico at the end of Iron Man 2, but that scene's repeated in Thor, so really it doesn't make that much of a difference. I just like the way it's spread out like this. I think it's neat. So then we have the second phase right here, and I'm just going to take this movie and move it down over here so we can look and see like that. And I thought for this phase right here, it would be nice to sort of spread out the use of aliens and what have you. I wanted to take this movie, since it's been a while since Cap had a solo film, and place it here, and then place Iron Man 3 here. The reason being for that is that Thor takes place pretty much immediately after the first Avengers movie. Loki is led away by Thor in chains at the end of the first Avengers movie, and then, you know, in the new movie, in Thor 2, he's brought before Odin in chains. Presumably happens like a few days or a week after the events of the first Avengers. But that would mean having 1, 2, 3 Thor movies and 3 Loki movies in a row, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to spread them out a little bit more. So, since it's been a little while since we had a solo Cap movie after the Avengers first movie, Captain America the Winter Soldier, and then Thor the Dark World, and then Iron Man 3, which came at the beginning of this phase, but if you think about it, Tony must have taken a little bit more time to build suits 8 through 41, so a little bit more space there, and then Guardians of the Galaxy after that, and then the second Avengers movie. Now, as far as the stingers go, I think it works out okay, because you've got, in in Captain America, you've got the stinger involving, or at least the mid-credit scene involving the people that are keeping Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch captive, along with they're holding on to the scepter from the first Avengers movie. In Thor, you have the scene in which a couple of Thor's associates bring something to the Collector, who shows up in Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's important to have that scene before Guardians of the Galaxy. There's no real important stinger at the end of Iron Man 3. But yeah, it works out nicely this way. We have the introduction of Thanos in the mid-credit scene here, and of course Thanos shows up in Guardians, and presumably, I don't know, maybe Guardians would actually work better in Phase 3. It could be. I'm not really sure. We'd have to look at Phase 3 in order to figure that out. But with Iron Man, of course, you have the introduction of Fury at the post-credit scene, but he also shows up in Cap. If you skip all the post-credit scene, he shows up basically at the end of Captain America, the first Avenger, at the very end when Cap finds himself in the present day. Then he shows up again, of course, in Iron Man 2. He has a couple of significant scenes. We also are introduced to Black Widow. Thor introduces Hawkeye, and we have more with Coulson, as we did in all 3 of these movies right here, which leads right into the first Avengers movie. So, anyway, that is my little scene right here. Oh, one other thing. Aliens? No aliens. Aliens? No aliens. Aliens? No aliens. There's no aliens, I don't think, in the second Avengers movie. It's all going to be about fighting robots. So yeah, so that's my sequence right there. That is my little sequence for Marvel. And I don't know if this works for you, but I kind of like it, and I'm not actually planning on doing a huge marathon of like 10 movies of this. That would be like another 24-hour thing. But if I were to watch them all in a row, once these two and this one, of course, comes out on disc, then that's the way I do it. Anyway, that's my thing. Thanks very much for watching. Appreciate it, everybody. Later.